Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday, September the 27th, 2018. Good to have you out here for our second of two shows this week here on this Thursday night. Running a little bit behind tonight, but you know what? Well, I'll talk more about things in just a moment. First, let me remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtag #ITSpotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And of course, as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it, once you find it, so you can interact with us and all that good stuff. All right. First of all, a little insight into, when you do these, when you have a podcast like this or anything, everybody's different. Now, I've made it no secret over the years of how I do things. I write out notes for each show, and what I'm going to do, what we're going to do, and then I look at the feedback and let that dictate a lot of the things that I do. And I have my process, and I've let you all in on it over the years. So but anyway, so I don't really do show notes until the day of the show. Now, some people would say that's kind of close, but I don't, because in case a big news story happens or something pops up, then I don't have to make a late ad and mess around things. I still have to do that from time to time, but I like to avoid that if possible. So, I like to do it the day of the show, usually the morning of the show. So I sat down this morning to get my notes together and start planning things out and all that good stuff. And when I did that, I started looking at what we're going to be doing tonight on the show. And I'm like, okay, we got entertainment, we got wrestling. So I started looking at, okay, what do I want to talk about in wrestling first? And then I sat there and I thought, wow, there's not really a whole lot that went on this week, is there? On Raw and Smackdown, and there really isn't a whole lot of big hot button stories outside of the Brie Bella botch on Liv Morgan, which we'll talk about. But that was really the only hot button issue, and there's not much to talk about at Raw and SmackDown. There hasn't been much to talk about from Raw and SmackDown in weeks, outside of the go right before Hell in a Cell and right out of Hell in a Cell. So I'm like, all right, well, there's not really a lot to talk about in wrestling then this week, so that's not going to be a very long set. We're lucky to get maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes out of that. And then I said, okay, well, we got the box office beat. That gives us a little bit, And then I sat down and I said, okay, well, this is fall TV premiere week. So a lot of shows have come back. A lot of new shows have debuted. So we always do something where, as we go along, we recommend shows. We kind of give you a general overview of some shows that we checked out, and that kind of thing, right? So I started ironing out what I wanted to say. And I came away from my little planning session today with the idea that we don't have much of a show tonight. And I'm like, wow, it's not that often in the nearly 8 years we've been doing this show, okay, that I literally sit there and go, I don't know if we're going to be able to make a half hour out of our show. I think it's only been happened like twice. This would probably be the third time. And I mean, it's just it's just the way it is. It's just not a lot in wrestling. There's not a lot going on in entertainment. There's only box office to talk about and fall TV. And me not having a co-host, I get through things a lot quicker anyway. But I don't have a lot to say on fall TV, and I don't think a lot of people do. I mean, I'll talk more about this later in the program, but this is the first fall TV season. New TV season that I can remember that you don't see too many people. I mean, there are a few people like, oh yeah, I'm excited about this show coming back, or this show coming back. I'm excited about this, but generally speaking, the hype for this TV season has just not been there. And I have a theory as to why, and I'll share it later on. But it's just interesting to me, and I'm feeling it too. I really, maybe it's because a lot of the shows that I really, really like don't come back. And this is kind of a spoiler to my theory. A lot of the shows that I really, really like don't come back till mid-season. So, maybe it's partly that. I don't really know. I just know that there's a general malaise as far as TV goes, as far as this fall TV season goes. So we'll talk more about that later. That'll be one of the things we talk about in our fall TV kind of review, fall TV premiere week review kind of deal. We'll do that later in the show. We also have the box office beat for you tonight. We're going to start with wrestling. The only reason we're going to start wrestling because I don't have much to say about it. I just want to get it out of the way. So we'll do some wrestling and we'll talk about the Brie Bella Liv Morgan thing, and we'll move on. And then so not a lot to go on tonight, folks. Not a lot of show tonight. Look, it's okay, and that's one of the reasons why I'm like, okay, it's fine that we're running a little bit late tonight because we're probably going to be off the air within a half hour, 45 minutes anyway. So. And with the way I feel now, it's probably for the best. I got the headache going on. I'm kind of exhausted. I'm feeling the sinus. So it's probably for the best, but still, I like to try to give people at least an hour's worth of show, and it's probably not going to happen tonight. So, but anyway, so that's going to be our show. So not a lot to go on tonight, folks. Not a lot to go on. Next week, as I mentioned earlier in the week, we are postponing changing up our show format. So that won't be happening indefinitely. I'll give you more information probably next week on the when, but it will not be happening next week or in October. So don't freak out about it. So next week we'll do what we've been doing over the last couple weeks. 2 shows. Tuesday will be sports. We'll do football. We'll do some baseball. Obviously, the baseball regular season will be over by then. We'll be going on up against the NL wildcard games. So we have all that to talk about. We'll have obviously football to talk about. It's week 4 is on the way tonight. We'll keep you updated on this score while we're on the air, which, as I said, won't be for very long. On Fox right now, the first Thursday night football game, you got the Rams and the Vikings, a great game, possibly an NFC playoff preview. Right now, the Rams are leading at 28-20 with 6:48 left in the third. Been a very high-scoring affair. Which is typical of the NFL this year. Jared Goff is doing great. As has been noted, Fox is pushing a lot of the Thursday night games this year. They got better matchups this year, so it should be more exciting. It's a great game so far. Again, that game on Fox. We'll keep you updated on that game throughout the night tonight because it's obviously a big game. I said, usually I wouldn't care about Thursday football. This is a game of significance, so we're going to care. But yeah, we'll talk football, baseball, anything else sports related on Tuesday, and then next Thursday, of course, we'll do what we've been doing: entertainment, wrestling, so box office, TV highlights, all that kind of stuff, all next Thursday. So that'll be the schedule for next week. And probably through October, we'll do the same kind of thing. Now look, this does allow us, with us not having, not going into the new stuff next week, new format next week, this does allow us to kind of celebrate our anniversary. We'll do something for the anniversary, the 8-year anniversary. We will do something. But I'll talk more about that next week. So, all right, so let's just get down to business here, and let's get moving on what we want to do with the show. As I said, we're going to start with wrestling. Usually I don't do that. Usually I don't start with something that I know we're going to kind of go through quickly. But I'm doing that because I just kind of want to get out of the way. There hasn't been a lot of stuff to talk about. Like I said, there's not a lot of big wrestling news out there. And Raw and Smackdown this week, again, it's kind of like going through the motions. There just wasn't a lot going on. Just more of the same. Shield versus Braun on Raw, Shield versus Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and Drew McIntyre for side of Baron Corbin. This really just, I guess part of the reason that you're kind of in a rut, and same thing with SmackDown. Even though SmackDown I thought was a little bit better, a lot of the same angles and storylines you've had going on since before SummerSlam are still going on. And you didn't blow them off at Hell in a Cell, so you're gonna continue a lot of this at obviously Super Showdown. So because of that, you're kind of still dealing with these angles, and there's not a whole lot left to do with them. And next week's kind of the go home show for that Super Showdown event. So you'll probably get a little bit more next week. But even then, again, I think people are just ready to move on from some of this. I really do. Or maybe get at least like in the case of Daniel Bryan versus Miz, I can see them taking that up to WrestleMania. But I think you're going to have to kind of slide in maybe a month or two where Daniel Bryan and the Miz are kind of away from each other just to kind of break it up a little bit. Because it is getting repetitive. It really is. There wasn't anything of significance on SmackDown. There were some good moments. Charlotte Becky Lynch continues to be good. Daniel Bryan Miz TV thing was okay. I mean, there's some good stuff going on. I don't want to say that there's not anything worth watching on these shows, but realistically, there's nothing that it's like a highlight. It's nothing huge, new, some significant like development. There's just nothing. Um, this is not anything notable. For a couple weeks there, you had the Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Triple H stuff, and even then, we're kind of ready just to get to the match, and we already know Shawn Michaels are going to be coming out of retirement. We all know what's been speculated on, what's been going on. So, um, there's not really anything new there right now. I think once you get past Super Showdown, things will start to pick up because other than Evolution at the end of the month, there's just not. Next big event, next pay per view is gonna be Survivor Series, or well, Crown Jewel too. You have a little bit of distance, and I think there'll be some new energy because you have Brock back and you have something going on. So again, not a whole lot on Raw and SmackDown this week, and that's why I said this could be a quick wrestling segment. No offense to your wrestling fans, it's not gonna have a lot to talk about. But I do want to talk about, and this wasn't a highlight, this was a low light. I do want to talk about what really has been the big story, at least in WWE this week, in my opinion. The Brie Bella botch on Liv Morgan. So you've all seen it. Brie was doing her yes kicks that Daniel Bryan made famous, and kick went errant and kicked Liv Morgan in the face, knocked her out conscious in the ring. Brie then proceeded to kind of drag Liv around the ring, kind of covered for the fact that Liv was knocked out. And, obviously Liv's going to have a pretty serious concussion, and who knows how long she'll be out. If you've been watching Brie Bella over these past number of weeks, she's had a lot of ring rust. Now look, she had a baby. She's been gone for a long time. Okay. And outside of working the Royal Rumble and a few other little things, she hasn't done any wrestling. She hasn't worked matches. Okay. And even those things that she did do weren't actual like one-on-one matches or tag matches. They weren't the same thing. She's been very sloppy since getting back. She's been botching suicide dives and all these kind of things. So it hasn't been easy for Brie Bella. Now, you let the sloppiness go when it doesn't hurt somebody, but now it's hurt somebody significantly. And, when it gets to that point, you do have to wonder if if you should maybe limit the workload of Brie, or if she should be working at all. And I like Brie. All right, but let's be honest here. It's been very sloppy. She's been consistently sloppy. She's been endangering herself at times. Now she's endangering others in the ring. Once it gets to that point, you start to really take under consideration the fact that maybe you should, at the very least, lighten the workload of Brie Bella. So, hang on, folks. I gotta step away real quick. I'll be right back. Just hang on. Hang tight. Hang tight. Sorry about that, folks. One of the joys of live podcasting, especially when you're doing it from home, sometimes things pop up. I don't know if you heard, but my dog was barking in the background, and she really had to go outside. So had to let her out and deal with that. So my apologies for that. Personal stuff sometimes gets in the way, folks. It just does. But it was better than having her bark and not be able to hear me. So as I was saying, now that it's gotten to the point where it's starting to impact others and really, I mean, it's impacted her too. She's almost injured herself a couple of times. So, you just don't want to see this getting. I mean, I know people are going to say, well, she'll get better the more she works and all that. I understand that, but I don't know if you want to take the risk. And plus, all intents and purposes, it seems like the Bella's only here through Evolution. And then after that, they're going to kind of drop out of sight again, probably going to come back for WrestleMania, and that'll be it for a while. So, I don't know. I just would err on the side of caution here, and at least at the very least limit what she's doing, or make sure that when she's in the ring or something, you limit the amount she gets. And I mean, it's just not. It's just been one thing after the other with her, and it shocks you because of the fact that she's Daniel Bryan's wife and they trained together, and the reaction by people. Look, I'm not like I don't like that it happened. I'm upset for Liv Morgan and I'm upset for Brie Bella, but some people were like venomous about it, and the reaction she was getting shocked me, given the fact that her popularity has kind of soared in relation to Daniel Bryan. So it kind of shocked me how way people were reacting to it, um, but yeah, I probably at the very least reduce her workload a little bit, and maybe try to, if she does have a match or a tag match or whatever you give her, maybe try to be careful, how much she's used and things like that. I think you have to do something because you can't just run her out there like she hasn't been gone for a very long time. You can't do that. You have to act like she's somebody that's rusty and needs time, and be careful what you have her doing and how often you have her doing it. So hopefully it works itself out. It seems like, Liv and Brie are okay. It seems like some other people might have a problem with what Brie did, but you know what? It was an accident. It happens in wrestling. You just hope that nothing is serious and everybody's okay. But again, I do think some safeguards need to be taken. That'd be my thing, but it was a pretty big deal, and it could have been a lot worse. And credit both women for being professional and making their way through it. So that was kind of like the big kind of storyline out of Raw and really out of TV this week for WWE, was that it kind of took over everything this week, that storyline. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. So again, not much else on WWE, not much else in wrestling as far as the week goes, at least that any of you wanted to talk about, and really that I saw that was worth talking about. So that's why I said we don't have a lot to talk about with wrestling. That's really it. That was like 5 minutes? And I had a little break in between to take my dog out. So again, not a whole lot. So my apologies, folks. There's not a lot of content this week. Next week we'll probably have more. We'll have Super Showdown the preview next week, so at least we have something to talk about. So, all right. So let's get past the wrestling, because there's nothing else to talk about there, at least from what you all have sent me and from what I've seen. So let's do a little bit. Let's jump to the box office now. Let's jump into entertainment. Let's jump into the box office, because that's where the meat of our show is going to be here, because that's really where the most stuff to talk about is. So, as I said, coming off a summer that was very good, and then an August that was surprisingly decent. September has started out pretty well, even with the Predator not doing great. And it kind of ends up having September ends up giving you another fairly good week this past weekend, carrying that momentum forward with the debut of The House with a Clock on Its Walls, which pulled in $26.8 million on its $42 million budget, 26.8 domestic, 9 million foreign. So already almost made its budget back in 1 week. Look, Jack Black's maybe kind of finding a niche here, because Goosebumps and now this. I mean, he's and Jumanji. He's kind of finding his way in the family realm. Eli Roth, who's done nothing but horror, doing this film, and that gives him maybe an opportunity to move with more family films as well. But yeah, this ends up being a kind of like a sweeper hit. Now look, I figured it'd do okay. Family movies this time you like that do well, but this is a little bit more than I would have anticipated. And I think it and again, carrying that September momentum and really late summer momentum through. So it's a good total. It's not overwhelmingly great. I mean, it's not huge, but it's something that really kind of helps the box office, and it's good. It's a good thing, as you head in towards October and then November and the holiday movie season. So, unfortunately, that was really the biggest success story this week, was The House with a Clock. Everything else was what didn't do great, but because A House with a Clock on Its Walls did so well, well, not incredibly well, but well enough, because it did so well, you don't worry so much about what everybody else did. Coming in second last week, dropping from third, was A Simple Favor, or I should say moving up from third was A Simple Favor, only dropping 36%, 10.2 million, which isn't bad. It's not bad. It's a decent hold. And then dropping from second to third was The Nun in its third week, with a 45% drop off, 9.9 million. Predator dropped from first to fourth as it continues to struggle. in its first 2 weeks. 9.1 million for that film, a 62% drop, which is not good. Again, any hope of that becoming a franchise is probably gone for the moment. Crazy Rich Asians continued its improbable run, saying put in fifth with 6.3 million at 27% drop off, which is very good for its 6 week. That movie's done very, very well, as you talked about over the last couple of weeks. And then everything else under 5 million, including 2 new releases. One, Fahrenheit 11.9 from Briarcliff, Michael Moore's recent film, came in its first week with a little over $3 million in 1,700 theaters, which is not bad. And then Life Itself from Amazon Pictures opened with $2.1 million in 11 plays, which isn't great, but again, I expected that kind of. And then there's a movie called Assassination from Neon, which opened with a little over $1 million. R-rated, and it's a film from Sundance, and it's got a lot of attention. It's going to get a lot of awards buzz. It did, again, a little over $1 million, but only in 1,400 theaters. It should be expanding its release over the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for that one. I would expect it to do reasonably well by Sundance film type standards. So all in all, it ends up being a decent week. Not a great week, but a decent week, kind of like the week before. That's really what September has been, is decent, and and it's acceptable, and it holds the momentum of the late summer, of the back half of summer. And that's what you really want for September, is to do that or better, and then carry you into October, and then as you build to the holiday movie season. So a fairly decent week at the box office. That sets the stage for what I think should be a pretty good week this week, with 4 new releases. The biggest release is an animated film called Smallfoot from Warner Brothers, which will be opening in 4,131 theaters. With the voice, again, an animated film, PG. Voice talents of Channing Tatum, James Corden, Zendaya, Common, LeBron James, Gina Rodriguez, Danny DeVito. Great, so obviously a good voice cast. Been a while since you had an animated movie, a true animated movie. I'd expect this to do well. Maybe $20-25 million. Again, kids still in school, end of September. But with family films this time of year usually do well. I think the key to this is going to be how well does the clock, the House with a Clock and its walls do. If it holds strong, then I think that cuts into Smallfoot and doesn't make as much as it possibly could make. If it holds, maybe by strong I should say holds stronger than expected, then it can cut into Smallfoot. If it holds about what you would expect, which is maybe it drops 40 to 45, 15%, then I think Smallfoot probably guarantees itself 25 to 30. Otherwise, I think I could see it making 20, maybe even lower than that, given the time of year it is and everything. So that's the trajectory you could see Smallfoot. A House with a Clock in its walls is probably going to be very, very a big key to how well Smallfoot does this weekend. The second biggest release is a film called Night School, a comedy from Universal, opening in 3,010 theaters, PG-13, starring Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. It's only got $29 million budget. Kevin Hart, we know how successful he is. Usually every one of his movies does well. Usually debuts pretty high. Usually debuts number 1 if possible. But if possible, I mean, if there's not a bigger movie coming out, like a big blockbuster type movie, I actually do think this will debut number 1, because it's been a while since we had a true comedy, and I think there's a market for this, and Kevin Hart has his fan base, so I think this is going to debut at number 1 with 35. I'm going to say about 35 million. It could squeeze out 40, but I think 35 seems reasonable for late September. I just Kevin Hart's fan base, the fact there hasn't been a lot of comedies lately, and a comedy that people would go out and see. I think the writing's on the wall here. I think this will do very well and take number 1, and really kind of carry the weekend along with Smallfoot. So, and then outside of that, you got a horror thriller called Hellfest from Lionsgate, opening in 2,297 theaters, R-rated, $5.5 million budget. So it should have no issue making that unless it bombs totally. I don't expect this. I expect this to do okay. I could see it maybe making 8, 9, 10 million which would be fine for a $5.5 million budget. We are getting closer to October now and Halloween, so people are starting to get in the mood for this. There has been some horror stuff lately, obviously The Nun earlier this month, so it's not like there's an appetite for like an over the top appetite for this, but it is also again getting closer to Halloween in October, so I think there's some people that desire this too. So I don't expect a huge total here, but you'll get 8, 9, 10 million probably. I can't see it doing more than that, but I could see it doing maybe a little less, but generally in that range. And you have a drama called Little Women. From Pinnacle Peak, opening in 643 theaters, PG-13, starring Leah Thompson. Now look, this is a re-release, okay? So it's not like it's a new release, so it's not going to do very well. You maybe talk about 1 million at max. So so this real drama, Little Women, when you look at the box office, we can go, well, it didn't do so well. Well, first of all, it's only in 642 theaters, but also, guess what, folks? It's a re-release. So, don't go crazy. The expectations need to be kept in check. So that one probably won't factor into much of anything. There's no other releases of note this weekend, so that's pretty much it. So this is the way I see it, things going this week. This weekend, I think Night School takes number one with 35 million, maybe 40. Smallfoot, again, let's see how a House of a Clock and its Walls does. If it does better than expected for its hold, then I think Smallfoot maybe only makes around 20 million, maybe a little less. If it holds about what is expected to, then I think Smallfoot probably comes in around 25, maybe even as high as 30 million in its first weekend. But either way, I think it'll take second place. A House of a Clock and its Walls, I think, will take third place. I'm going to go with around, let's say around 14, 15 million. I think you'll see Hellfest around like 9, 10, maybe a little under that. Which should probably knock down The Nun. Because with the Hellfest doing that, people be forgetting about The Nun. I think you'll see maybe a Simple Favor around. Predator's probably going to drop down to 5 million. Simple Favor around maybe 6.5, 7. The Nun maybe around 5.5. Predator probably right around 5 million, and everything else I think will be under 5 million this weekend. So yeah, so I think it should be between Smallfoot and Night School and a House of a Clock as well. I think that will make this a very good weekend, more than decent, because the last couple weekends have been decent. This will be, I think, a very good weekend to carry the box office into October, and keep the momentum going and build on it. So and this should be a good weekend at the box office for sure, with all the releases and with the House of a Clock as well as with the carryover that movie should get. It should be a pretty good weekend with all that taken into account. All right, next week, a big weekend. You have a big blockbuster in Venom from Sony Columbia, part of the Spider-Man universe. Not really anything to do with the MCU apparently, but been well marketed, and there should be an interest in that. It's like a traditional summer blockbuster in October, so that should do well. And you have a musical that a lot of people have been looking forward to. It's getting a lot of awards, but A Star Is Born, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. There'll be a lot of interest in that, and that gets released next weekend as well. So that should be big. So next weekend should be a very big weekend. It's really October with Halloween and some blockbusters being released like Venom. It's usually a bigger month, and then of course it also builds to the holiday movie season. So you start to get back into some heavy duty stuff at the box office once you hit October. So next weekend should be very, very interesting. But again, box office comes into October with a lot of momentum, and I think this weekend will really kind of build on the momentum it already has. So, all right. Before we go on to our next topic here, I'm going to have to step away real quick. I got to let the dog in, so I'll be right back, folks. Just stick Okay, thank you, folks, for your patience. Took me a little while longer to get her in than I anticipated, but she's kind of crazy tonight, so that's kind of what she's. But thank you for your patience with that. I had to let her in, and now she's all good to go. So, all right, and we're into our last segment for tonight because we did the box office, we did the wrestling stuff we had to do. So now we're in our last segment, and that is our kind of like fall TV review. Now, this is something that will be ongoing, so this won't be the first time we do this. And we all know we've done TV highlights over the years, and we kind of just do what we talk about our favorites. But we also recommend we go out and try different shows, new shows, returning shows that we haven't, maybe we've stayed away from for a while or we never watched before. So we give you a little bit of flavor of everything. Now, look, this is always a hard segment to do because you don't want to spoil anything for anybody, so you kind of have to be speaking a lot of generalities. It's also hard too because even though I'm a TV and film nut, I try to get to as many things as possible. I don't always get to everything that I want to in a given week, so sometimes I have to table things for an extra week or so I get to everything. So I might not, as I start this right now, this is the first week of the fall TV season. This is kind of like a premiere week, What is a premiere week? I haven't gotten to everything that I really wanted to watch this week. I got into a couple of the shows I really I want to check out. But I really haven't gotten to as much things, especially a lot of the returning shows. I haven't gotten to as many of them as possible. Some stuff I want to get to tonight, like Murphy Brown. And a lot of shows haven't debuted yet. So this ain't going to be as long and comprehensive a segment as, I would hope it to be because not only because of my own inability to get to everything, but also because there's not everything debuted this week. And some things are debuting as we speak. So so really what you're going to get from me in this segment is I'm going to give you I'm going to talk about what I've seen, both new and returning. And then I'm going to give you a mist that kind of like my, there might kind of like an idea of where some of these shows are that debuted and returned, how the ratings have been, and that kind of thing. So as I set up earlier in the show tonight, I said that this is one of the more I guess least hyped TV seasons I've seen. Yeah, there's a few shows that got a lot of promotion, particularly a lot of the NBC shows have gotten a lot of promotion. Like Manifest, New Amsterdam, I Feel Bad, but like a lot of the other networks haven't really pushed their stuff. At least not as much as I've seen in the past. And there's just not a lot of hype shows to begin with this year. And I thought about this a lot, like this, just as we went through the summer and then into the September, and then as we approached the fall TV season, I said, why does it seem like this is the least talked about fall TV season? Why does it seem like it's not as hyped? And I thought about it, and then I realized something. Maybe people are like me, where a lot of the stuff that you watch, a lot of your favorites, or a lot of the big stuff that's on TV is not coming back until mid-season or sometime next year. And, maybe that's what it is, partly. But I think maybe another part of it, too, is we live in an age where people are into binge watching. They're content to let episodes pile up on their DVR, or they're content to wait to the end of a season and catch a show on Netflix or catch the whole season of a show on demand. Is that becoming more and more the norm? And if that's the case, then maybe people are not as excited to watch these shows live or get to them right away. It used to be the old saying, well, what are you going to talk about around the water cooler the next morning, right? Not so much that anymore. You go to work, you go to school, people aren't really talking about what they saw on TV. They might, unless it's a sporting event or some significant big live event, they're not talking about that anymore. It's not the same. I mean, there's very few shows that have that ability to draw you in right away. It's just a fact of the TV culture we're in now. The game has changed. It's not about, as if you're a show or a producer or a writer or a studio, whatever, a network, you're just hoping that people watch your stuff. At this point, you don't worry about when they watch it because it's the game has changed. The landscape has changed. And I think maybe that's reflected now is that people are like, you know what? Hey, I'll get to your show when I get to your show. I'm excited about your show, but and then maybe there's some people that like to wait and see if a show's gonna get canceled or see how people react to a show before they get invested in it. So, I think that's all part of this. I think that's all factored into this, and that might contribute to why it's this TV season so far just doesn't seem to have a lot of hype. Now, I have checked out a few of the shows that I really did want to check out. Manifest New Amsterdam, both were on NBC, were two of the shows I really want to check out. I checked out both of them. I liked them both a lot. I probably like New Amsterdam a little bit more than Manifest. And I guess my only fear of Manifest is that, it's going to have that old, what do you call it? That old, like, that fear. Fear is a better word than old, whatever I was going to say. I have that fear with Manifest that after one season, it's going to be like, well, maybe you should end it because, it's got a lost feel. And I feel like they're going to try to make it overly complicated to keep it going. So just kind of like, okay, let's just tell our story and end it. But nonetheless, I like what I saw. I thought they were very good. I thought New Amsterdam was really solid. I thought Ryan Eggo did a great job with that. I did see I Feel Bad. I thought it was okay. I think sitcoms are weird. Sometimes they need more time to grow into themselves. But I didn't think it was bad. I thought they had potential. For sure. I've seen part of A Million Little Things. I'm not going to mention it yet because I didn't see enough of it to really feel comfortable talking about it. But yeah, yeah. I thought it shows potential. It shows potential. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else there is. Well, I see that came back. Those are some of the new stuff. Magnum PI. I watched this week. Nah, I wasn't into it. I wish they leave that one alone. I didn't like FBI. I did check that. I didn't like that. I wouldn't check that out. It seemed like more of the same. I thought good. I did see The Good Doctor. I didn't really talk a lot about that show last year, but the few times I watched that show last year, I really enjoyed it. I got the chance to watch the premiere this year, and I thought it was really strong. I think it's an underrated show. I really do. I really do think it's an underrated show. My wife really likes 911, and so we have to watch it all the time in this house. I personally think it's ridiculously over the top. It reminds me of the later years of ER when it said they do something really gimmicky. It takes you just right out of it. I wish they do a little more realistic stuff, but yeah, I watched both of those premiere episodes. Again, just really over the top. Not my thing, but I did watch a little bit of The Resident on Fox. I didn't like it. I don't see that show lasting, and the ratings weren't good for. I think it did a 1-1, so that's not going to get the job done. And really, if you look at the TV ratings, I'm going to take a break from reviewing things to kind of give you all an idea of the TV ratings. The Monday night ratings were terrible. Now, Big Bang Theory is in its last season. I did catch the premiere, and I thought it was strong. And look, I think it's time for them to go out. I think they'll go out on a high note. I'm not a big fan of the show, but for what it does, I think it's going to go out on strong on a high note. But Big Bang Theory pulled a 2.4, which we all know what it was pulling in its heyday. The Voice only pulled a 2.0. Dance with Stars did a 1-1. Resident did a 1-1, which is terrible for a debut because there's nowhere to go but down. You know that. Young Sheldon pulled in a 1-7 at 8:30. 911 pulled in a 1-6 on Monday night, which is not great. Man and PI a 1-2. Manifest did a 2-2 at 10, which is very good. It actually improved upon its The Voice, which is great. That's awesome for NBC because even if it goes down, it probably will hold The Voice at least. The Good Doctor put in a 1-4 to start off, which is not very good, and Bo only put in a 0.9, which is kind of traditional for 10 o'clock. So, no, that's not a good night. The only really true, Manifest is probably the only positive story from the night. As far as the ratings go. As far as Tuesday goes, New Amsterdam. Again, those were the numbers before they got adjusted. I think only a few shows got adjusted Monday night. Tuesday night, I'm gonna look at the file numbers because then you guys get an accurate representation. Because it makes it better to give you the full numbers. Um, okay. How do you give you the last numbers I gave you were the ones before they adjusted. Um, Voice put in a 2-2 on Tuesday, which is strong, which would be a little bit better than Monday. NCIS a 1-4. Remember how big that used to do? Well, still does well in viewers, but demos. And 0.9 for Dancing with the Stars. The Gifted came in with a zero point 0.9, which isn't great. The Flash put in a 0.2. So I wonder if those two are going to cannibalize shows since they're both comic book shows. This Is Us came in at 9 with a 3.0, which is great. FBI debuted with a 1-3. I don't. Again, that's I guess that's strong for CBS, but I don't like it. That's a very low number. Nowhere to go but down. Lethal Weapon debuted with a 0.8, which is not great. Curiosity didn't help that one like people thought with Sean William Scott joining. Not help that show at all. New Amsterdam debuted with a 1.8. It's not great. I mean, it's strong, I guess, for 10 o'clock, but it's not great. I guess if it can hold like over 1, if you're NBC, you're happy with that because that's a 10 o'clock show. But again, nowhere to go but down when you debut. But then again, this is the day and age we're in now. These shows aren't going to do huge numbers because there's so much to watch on television with time-shifted viewing and everything. There's a lot to take in. And then CIS New Orleans put in a 1-0 on Tuesday night. So Tuesday was a little bit better than maybe Monday, but still not great. And then Wednesday, as far as, and again, these are only the network numbers. There's obviously cable numbers, but I don't want to get into all those. Your Wednesday numbers: Empire debuted with a 1-9, which isn't too bad for them. 1-7 for Survivor. 1-4 for Goldberg, which isn't bad. Chicago Med a 1-2. American Housewife at 8:30 p.m. for ABC did a 1-2. Modern Family for 1-6 at 9. 1-4 for Star, which isn't great. Chicago Fire 1-3. So Chicago Fire actually improved upon Chicago Med, which is good for their lineup, I guess. Big Brother at 9:30 put in a 1-7. Single Parents debut with a 1-3, which is not great. For a new show, but 9:30 has always been a tough half hour for ABC. Chicago PD does a 1-2 at 10. A Million Little Things debuts for ABC at 10 with a 1-1, which again, nowhere to go but down, so that's not great. So all in all, again, the ratings game has changed, so you have to skew things. It used to be like, well, if you're above a 2.5 or 2.0, you're in good shape. 2.5 was considered high. 2.0 in the demo was considered safe. Now it's like you got so many shows that are going fractional, and most shows are in the lower end of ones. So what do you view as a show that's safe? I guess time slot's important. If you're 10 o'clock and you're above a 1, you're guaranteed to be safe. Outside of that, who knows? It might just depend on how much of a profit a show makes. Or sometimes things like Netflix deals play big roles because that means that's an extra revenue source for the show, and the network will keep that show around to keep producing episodes because it benefits them in that particular streaming deal. So, sometimes those other outside deals are just as important as the ratings you get because the show it helps with the profits and more. Look, if a show is profitable, they'll keep it even if the ratings are not that good. So that's always something to keep into account and take in too. Is if they have streaming, if a show has a streaming deal, a profitable streaming deal, like like the Blacklist does and like Shameless does and stuff like that. So I guess so far what I would say is this: I haven't seen too many returning shows. I watched South Park last night. I thought that was. I don't even want to review it. I really wish they hadn't gone there. I understand what they were trying to do. It's one of those South Park episodes I won't rewatch. It's one of those South Park episodes I don't really want to talk about. But it's also traditional South Park. So that's really all I can say about that. I mean, I've been watching Shameless over the last couple weeks. That's a show I got into over the summer and pretty much watched the entire show. And I like what I've seen of season 9. I think so far it's better than season 8. I think there's more direction for some of these characters as opposed to season 8, which felt like almost like a restart. Because I really do think they felt like they were going to be done in season 7. But then they weren't, and then they kind of had to restart things. So I think a lot of the characters suffered last year because of that. But anyway, pardon me. I like what I've seen so far from Sheamus. Obviously, the 100th episode this week, so that'll be big for them. American Horror Story is one of the returning shows I've seen. I'm actually liking it this year. I am. I haven't minded the last few. Before that, I kind of went through a rut where for 2 seasons or so, I felt like the show was kind of off its kilter. I mean, well, it's an off-kilter show anyway, but I felt like it was kind of falling apart a little bit and struggling. But now I feel like it's back on track. It's been strong. It's been really strong. So all in all, I guess I would say the shows that I was excited about, which were all coincidentally NBC shows, I've liked enough. New Amsterdam, Manifest, even I Feel Bad. Those are the shows I thought I would like, and so far I do like. There's a couple. I think that Single Parent show on ABC was one I wanted to check out. I haven't got a chance to check that out yet, but I heard that's not bad. But there's not much else I really want to check out. I mean, I'll try to check out as much of it as possible just so I can kind of review it. But as far as things that I was really excited about, I kind of checked out most of what I wanted to see as far as new shows go. So a lot of the returning shows I'm excited about don't come back till January, so I can't really talk about those. But yeah, so far I would recommend New Amsterdam. I'd recommend Manifest. I Feel Bad. I would recommend, but I'd give it a little bit of time to find its footing. As far as returning shows, The Good Doctor I like. Shameless I like. That's a cable show for you, so it's a variety. I want to really see The Gifted. I like The Gifted. I liked it last year, but I haven't got a chance to see it yet. But I want to get back into watching that, so I'd recommend that probably even sight unseen. But yeah, those are some of the things I would recommend, and that's some of my thoughts here on Fall TV week so far. Again, not a whole lot of thoughts because I haven't gotten to as much stuff as I would have liked to have. By next week, I will get to more. But again, and a lot of stuff hasn't premiered. A lot of stuff is premiering late. So we can't talk about it. It hasn't debuted yet or returned yet. So that's kind of where I'm at with Fall TV so far. Again, it's just not something that a lot of people seem hyped about. People are, again, you look at the ratings, look at the amount of discussion. It's I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things that can maybe fall into the theory, but of why. But again, I guess it's a consequence of the way things are now in the TV landscape. It's not the same at all. Not like it was even a decade ago. People used to be excited and they'd be watching multiple shows. Now it's, people binge watch and they wait, and things are different. Things are very different. The landscape has definitely changed. So, what's funny is I said I wanted to try to give you all an hour of show. Well, I'm going to come very close to doing that. So, maybe the little breaks taking my dog out in between really help. But yeah, I we're closing in at about an hour, so at least I gave you all an hour show because I struggled today. We really didn't have a lot of content, so but we did it. We got through it. We did what we had to do, and I tried to fill it out an hour or so, and I did that. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. Just a quick score update here as we're about to go off the air. 38-31 Rams over Vikings. Thursday Night Football on Fox. First week of it. Again, there's going to be better games this year, so these games figured to matter more. Well, obviously, we talk about, do score updates on them now because there'll be bigger games. 3:46 left in the fourth there, so obviously that's a game you might want to check out because that's obviously very, very close. So check that out on Fox if you're interested in that. We'll obviously talk about that game and all the NFL games, along with other sports highlights and headlines and such next Tuesday on our next show. All right, so that being said, that is it for tonight. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your comments, your questions about the show, scheduling your topic ideas, or breaking news on favorite sports, entertainment, or wrestling that you want us to cover. Reactions, comments, opinions, things we talk about on the show, things we said, any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything people got on our show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook and make sure that you like our fan page once you're on it, once you find it, so you can interact with us and get all the latest updates about the show and all that good stuff. Again, follow us on social media so you can get the latest updates about the show, cancellations, postponements, delays, important announcements. We also post random stuff on our social media as well. So to have access to all that and more, find us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, and find us on Twitter at itspotlight401. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything we got on the show. And again, on Facebook, just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page. You can interact with us and all that good stuff. Two ways to keep up the show and look back at past episodes. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. And you'll be taken to our show pages on both of those sites where you'll have access to every episode we ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015 all the way up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes available for you to stream anytime you want on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming's not your thing, maybe prefer to listen to us or in general, just listen to us on the go. Maybe interested in older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search In the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taking our show page on both those sites. We'll have access to every episode we ever produced in your 8 years we've been doing the show. So it's every episode from original Blog Talk Radio one from October 2010 to January 2011. All of our episodes from our talk show one from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October 2015. All of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes mid-October 2015, all after tonight's current episode. All those episodes transferred into audio format for your convenience. Sorry, I'm stumbling over myself. Every episode we've ever done transferred into an audio format for your convenience, for you to listen to anytime you want. Whether you missed an episode, want to check on an episode again, maybe caught half an episode, want to catch the other half. Maybe you're a long-time fan, want to check an episode from a few years back, or a new fan, want to check an episode like that for the very first time. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways. Give it the show and look back at Crash Cups to search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, to search for In the Spotlight 411. As I always do, since he's been off the show since May, June, whatever time it was, shout out to my co-host Mike. Hope he's continuing to do well. Hope he'll be back with us soon, particularly with the anniversary coming up. Wish him well. Hope everything's going well for him. I want to thank myself for another great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching, listening to this later in archive, thank you to you as well. Thank you for your patience in regards when me take the dog out and kind of step away for a little bit. Thank you very much for that. Stuff like that happens. It's live podcasting. Things pop up. I apologize. I try not to let that happen, but, sometimes it does. That is it for this week. Again, we will not be starting our new format next week. It'll be same old until further notice. So keep that in mind. So next week we'll be coming at you with 2 shows, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. That Tuesday show, October the 2nd. That Thursday, obviously October the 4th. So those will be our first 2 shows of October. We'll be doing sports on Tuesday. We'll do talk about football, college football, pro football. We'll talk about pro football, college football, all the football stuff you need. We'll talk about it. Baseball, we'll talk baseball playoffs. We'll do a baseball playoff preview. We'll talk about the NL wildcard game as it happens on Tuesday because we'll be on up against it. All that and more on Tuesday's show, which will be a sports show, so you want to tune in for that. Thursday, of course, entertainment and wrestling, box office beat, TV highlights. We continue our kind of journey through the early part of the fall TV season here. We'll talk wrestling, Raw, SmackDown. We'll preview WWE Super Showdown. All that will be coming at you on next Thursday's show, so it should be a much longer show and much more full show next Thursday. So with all that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, and a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here next week for our first show of October. This coming Tuesday night, October the 2nd at 10 o'clock from Eastern Time. That is when our next show will be. Until then, have a good night, everybody.